I think the only way to do it is not to create any expectation, to just keep yourself busy and wait for the announcement.
Let's move to the second topic, which is training, and you already mentioned this topic a couple of times. So first of all, let's go back a little bit to the Italian situation. This lockdown, is there any exception for the riders? So is there any way that they can go out and train with bikes, not just because of leaving the house, but also, if I correctly know, that Italian government asks everyone to avoid all the risky situation, not to end in a hospital. So is there any way to them to train properly how they used to do it?
Until now, the situation is that they were allowed to go, well, they can only train in their premises. So if they have a gym at home or in their place, or if they have their own gym. So all the public gyms are closed. So that is the situation. Sure. In terms of riding bikes, I know that they needed a medical control to be sure that they were not positive to the virus. Mm-hmm. And they could train on a bike, but only without having basically contact with other people, which make it very difficult because, of course, when you go training, you need either a mechanic or an assistant. So it is quite complicated. But on top of that, the tracks are all closed. Mm-hmm. So it is not something that you can do very easily. I don't know in Spain how is the situation, but I think is quite similar to Italy.
And there's another aspect for the riders, the doubt, the uncertainty when they can start to race finally, which is their life. And mentally, it's also a really, really difficult situation. Mm-hmm. Can you help them? How can you help them? And first of all, let's talk about your riders, how they can handle the situation.
Well, for sure, when they first heard the news that there was no racing, basically, and I'm talking about MotoGP, because Superbike had their first race, Moto2, they managed to have the first race, but in particular MotoGP, they were everybody was ready to go. Mm-hmm. So in the last minute, no racing. So I think that was a bit of a shock for the rider, for the system of the rider, because they have all the winter to build up for the first race. And they used to do it. They used to go to Qatar and have the night race, and that is the beginning. So that was for sure quite a shock for the riders. They understand the situation, so it's fine. The problem is how to keep them up, to keep them motivated. And I think the only way, I don't know the answer, but the only way is to keep training, keep focusing, have regular days when you wake up, you do your stuff, you work a little bit, you do the workout, you go back for lunch, etc., etc. So if they keep themselves disciplined and into a routine, that is probably the best way to carry on.
To be precise, because this is another thing I wanted to ask, how was this situation before the Qatar race and before the cancellation of the Qatar race and the day of the cancellation, when you knew about this? For example, how was it with Dovi? He called you, you called him, or really, what was the first reaction from his side?
Well, no, it was no special reaction. He said, okay, there is a problem. We will not be able to travel and to Qatar. And the championship probably will start in Austin, at the time. So, okay, we're going to miss the first two races. One will be done at the end of the season, fair enough. But then we start realizing that Austin and Argentina would not happen, And now we'll see, because I personally, I doubt we will be able to start in Jerez, and also maybe Mugello, I don't know. But I think the only way to do it is not to create any expectation, to just keep yourself busy and wait for the announcement.
Yeah, but it's not easy. Moreover, if you are locked down in your own property, even if the property can be really different, I mean, it's not the same whether you are in a small flat or you really have somewhere to go out and train. But still, I think it's really difficult. And we could see in the documentary of Dovi, which, by the way, I think it's awesome. So congratulations to you, to Dovi, and everyone involved. So we could understand even more how mental preparation is important for the riders. And who knows Dovi a little bit better, let's say, or listening to him more deeply, we can understand that he's really a rider, thinking a lot and go deep in every situation. So you mentioned that it's important to have your daily routine. But is there any other thing they can do, like more mental training, for example?
Yeah, well, the rider that I work with, yes, they do have mental training, which is important as well, because it keeps them busy. And also in this period of time, you have extra time to work on little details that maybe you couldn't during the winter, and surely you cannot during the season. So this is an extension of the winter where they can work on things that normally they can't. So I think that's an opportunity, okay, and we have to make the best out of it. But in terms of final result, we will only see if and how the riders have been affected when they go back racing, because we can't predict if they fall asleep, and they are not ready, or if they are ready to eat, or if they are too excited. Exactly. We'll see. We will see at the beginning of the season.
You mentioned already that you also think, a lot of us, I think we are sharing the same opinion, that Jerez is really in depth. Le Mans, I think, as well. Clearly, it would be a really, let's say, touching story, I think, to start in Mugello, but it's still on the edge, I guess. But what kind of championship we can expect, or you as a manager, or the riders, because it will be something really different from anything we could experience?
I think we should expect to begin with a closed door races at the beginning. Because if we really need to start racing, I think it will be important to race, but we can only race if we know that the people involved in racing are not affected directly, so they're not positive to the virus when they go to the paddock, because otherwise it will be difficult to allow them into the paddock. So it's a bit complicated. I think the situation will evolve, and depending on how they test people. And when we have better statistic European-wise, okay, so we have Europe, at least we know we start from Europe. So Europe will have knowledge about the numbers, about there will be probably more common politics between all the countries. And that will help probably Dorna to set up a championship.
Can we say, you think that this year's championship, that hopefully will happen, and we know that a lot of people are working on it, but it's not in anyone's hands right now, I guess. So will we see winning the strongest rider mentally at the end of the season?
It could be that you need to be very strong to, this will be a rush. This will be a very short championship. Even if there are 19 races, but they will be condensed. And for sure, the physical and the mental aspect in this kind of circumstances is fundamental. Because when you have a down period, when you're not at the top of your game, and you have 3 races in a row, you lose 3 races, and that's it. So the championship is gone.
when you have 8 races in 10 weeks, as it is now, for example, for the second time, it still can change and probably will change, but it's already, you know, it's enough that you enjoy yourself during the first weekend, and then basically the championship is done.
So the physical fitness and the mental fitness will be the answer to this. Of course, technically there are many points that we need to discuss, because if then they start having 2 races during the same weekend in the same circuit, if that circuit suits better a bike or another bike or a rider, then all the elements are mixed again. But who knows? I mean, but for sure the mental aspect will be important.
Well, I think all of us, we cannot wait to start somewhere. Let's see when and where. Thank you so much for your time and sharing all these interesting background information and aspects. Take care, stay safe, stay home.
Thank you, and the same to you.
And I hope to see you really, really soon.
Thank you, Nicolette. Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.